Apart from the first 5 books of the Old Testament, there is a different order between the books of the Hebrew Bible and that of English Bibles. The Hebrew Bible has 3 divisions: the Law of Moses, the Prophets, and the Sacred Writings. The Prophets consist of 8 books in the following order: Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah, and the 12 also known as the Minor Prophets. The Writings consist of 11 books that are ordered in this manner: Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Lamentations, Daniel, Esther, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Chronicles. The Book of Ruth was originally placed before the Psalms. However, in the Middle Ages it was moved next to the other smaller books: Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Lamentations, and Esther. One of the questions that Bible students ask is, why was the Hebrew canon divided into 3 parts? Why were the books grouped according to the Law, Prophets, and the Writings? Is there any reason as to why a certain book was in the Prophets rather than the Writings? There have been a number of answers given to this question. We will give the 3 mostly popular theories. The main ones include: 1. There were 3 different historical stages when the books were canonized. 2. The books in section 2 were written by prophets, while books in section 3 were not. 3. The books were divided according to their literary character. Theory 1. There was 3 stages of canonization. There have been those who have argued that the Hebrew Old Testament was canonized in 3 stages. The reason these books are found in their present order is the order in which they were canonized. Supposedly there was a gradual development of the canon over a long period of time. According to this theory, the Law of Moses was canonized in the 5th century before Christ, the Prophets were canonized in the 3rd century before Christ, and Sacred Writings was not canonized until the 1st century AD. The books in the 3rd section were not recognized as scripture in the 3rd century before Christ. According to this theory, it is possible that some of them, including Daniel, had not even been written at that time. It was not until after the time of Christ that the writings in the 3rd section were regarded as scripture. Therefore, 3 different groups of sacred writings are recognized, because there were 3 different times of recognition in history. This is how this particular theory is usually stated. One of the main problems with his theory is that Jesus loved quoting the Psalms. Theory 2. The last 2 sections are divided between prophets and non-prophets. There is also the view that the 2nd stage of the Hebrew canon was written exclusively by prophets, while the 3rd stage was composed of books written by non-prophets. The writers of the 3rd section had the prophetic gift, but did not hold a prophetic office. David, Solomon, Daniel and Ezra, whose writings are found in the 3rd section, were not prophets in the sense of holding a prophetic office. However, the scripture does say that David and Daniel had the prophetic gift. The best answer seems to be the 3rd theory, that the books were divided according to their literary character: Law, Prophets, and Writings. The 1st section contains the Law of Moses, the 2nd contains the works of the prophets, while the 3rd contains the Sacred Writings. According to this theory, the 3 divisions have nothing to do with the order in which they were written, or the time they were canonized. There are parts of the 3rd section that are equally as old as parts of the 2nd section. For example, some of the Psalms were composed centuries before the last of the writing prophets. Ezekiel, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Consequently, there is no evidence that the Holy Writings was the last collection of books to be placed into the canon. In addition, each of the three divisions has an historical section. The first section contains history from creation through the law of Moses. The second section is from the Moses to the end of the Hebrew monarchy. The third section contains the history of the Babylonian captivity and then the return. For example, Daniel, Esther, Ezra and Nehemiah give the history of this third period of Israel's history. This is the reason as to why they are in the third section. The reason Chronicles is placed last is because it summarizes Old Testament history, not because it was the last work to be canonized. That is why we believe that the Old Testament scriptures are divided into three parts according to their literary character, with each part containing an historical section.